Hey gang, welcome back to Joe Daddy's Garage. Today's video is going to be a maintenance video. Now I've been working on Mustang projects, but sometimes I have to take care of my own vehicles. Now what I have is a 2009 GMC 2500 HD that I bought earlier this year. It has a lot of miles on it, but it's a good running truck, and I have a bit of a problem. Turns out that the radiator started leaking. Let me show you where that's at. Alright, so this has a 6.0 in it, and right here is liquid. I don't know if it shows up very well, but it is wet right there, and it's been dripping and actually created kind of a wet spot right there at the front of the truck. So I started up the vehicle, got it warm, and once it really got warm, it started coming out of this even more. So I know that the radiator's bad. So I have another radiator that I'm going to put in it. You can see maybe a little bit of liquid, but I need to get this apart and swap that out. I'll show you what I have in just a minute. So I've ordered a radiator from Amazon. Some extra fittings or fittings attached to it. So this radiator is set up with a transmission cooler and oil cooler, and so they provide you with these fittings as adapters. They come in the bag here, and I'll go over more of that as I move forward. But if you don't need these, you probably don't need to order this radiator, so just know what you're ordering. But there will be a link in the description below for this particular radiator. So in order to change out the radiator, the first thing I need to do is remove this panel. This has these little clips in it. You can use either a screwdriver or a body shop tool like this. Hook into the clip and pull it out. And it should come out together. If it doesn't, you can pull up on this and it'll release it. But basically you have this little body and this insert that goes in. When you put it inside the hole and push down, it locks it in. Remove the cover and set it aside. Now at the bottom of the radiator you're going to find a petcock. So you have to open that up and let this thing drain. Sometimes there's a hose attached to that that'll let it flow down. Other times you have to put a hose on that so that you can direct it into a pan to catch your antifreeze. Well, as it turns out, the original radiator apparently doesn't have a petcock drain. So what I'll have to do is take loose the upper hose. You may end up using your, or having to remove your air box just to give you some clearance for the fan shroud. But at this point, I just want to get the radiator upper hose loose. And you can do that a variety of ways. Sometimes you can do it with a big pair of channel locks. Just get a hold of it and press the clamp and move it to the back of the hose. Okay, there's fluid in there. Okay, now the shroud is going to be held in with a couple different things. There should be, I believe these are 10mm bolts up here, and then there's push pins right there. So you have to pull up the center of that push pin and remove it, and the upper shroud should come out of the way. I think I have enough clearance because I set the hose up into the back. There's a little clamp retainer right here that goes into this hole here, and so I pulled that out, and then there's another hose right here. This goes to the engine, and then the other end connects to the midsection of the radiator down there, the side tank. So you can see that as well. So this has two of those. It has one in the middle and one up high that connects directly to the reservoir. So I'm going to see if I can get the shroud out. Enjoy the sounds of my neighbor's lawnmower while I do this. And just to show you, this is one of those push pins. So I got them both out before I started removing these bolts. It's got two more push pins to the back side of the shroud. I didn't see those. I'll show you where they're at in just a minute. There's one. There's two. Always set them in a place where you have trouble finding them later. It makes it more fun. Gonna make it difficult. This is where it may have been better to remove the air duct out of the way. However, it's out, and that is a secondary location for the pin. So one here, one there, and same on the other side. Now the lower piece actually slides into slots on the radiator. See if I can get this one to come out without yeah, these lines are probably gonna have to come off. So we have these hard lines, and they're in a little carrier down there, and that carrier goes into the shroud. So I don't know if I could just pop those off, because I'm gonna have to take the tubes loose anyway, but see if I can get in there behind that. Okay, so that one's off. See if that was enough. We can almost rotate this. There we go. So you might be careful putting this in and out. I rotated it around the fan, kind of like that. Just be cautious. Maybe put a piece of cardboard in front of your new radiator so that when you push this in, you don't mess up the fins. Okay, these upper hoses, pretty easy to take off. This one up here, just squeeze the clamp, slide it back, slide the hose off. The middle hose, same thing, squeeze the clamp. This lower one, I had to use this tool that I had got from the, what was the name of that company? Where's it at? Here it is. I don't know what the name of it was, but I've done a video on these tools. Oh, Orion Motor Tech. So I have a video showing these. So that tool I had to use has the cable on it with the little clamps on the end, and you squeeze this handle and it compresses that clamp, because it's almost impossible to get to otherwise. So I don't know if you can see it very well. That's the end of the cable down there, and I had to squeeze it and then slide the hose off of the radiator. Alright, now that I have the lower hose off and the other hoses, I have to get these hard lines off. Now there's a little black cover here, and you should be able to just get behind that with like this screwdriver or this body shop tool, and this is meant to pull those pins. See if I can do it with one hand. There it goes. Okay, So inside of that is kind of like a clip, and I'll show you what that looks like on the new piece. So this is a new fitting. This will thread into the radiator, and then your hard line pops into that, and you can see it's got 3 little teeth sticking out. And basically, to take this off, you're going to have to get behind this hook and push this off. There's no way to relieve the tension on these without removing the whole hook. You can't get on this top section because the hump actually goes down inside the fitting. So you have to get underneath one of these hooks or both and slide that thing off. And then once you do that, the hard line will pull out of this fitting. Let's see if I can do this with just a little screwdriver and try to get behind the hook. I got another screwdriver here, and there you can see it coming off, and that is the little thing you have to remove. Once you do that, this line will pull out of the fitting. I'm going to leave it in there for now until I get the other ones off, because it'll start leaking fluid, and I'm going to try to capture that with another oil pan. Okay, now that I have both sets of lines disconnected, I need to remove these upper bolts here. These are 13 millimeter. Okay, now I should be able to angle this to the rear of the vehicle, let's say, and pull it out. Okay, there it is. Get that out of the way. Now you will want to make sure you take these rubber boots off the bottom of the radiator, because those do not come with the new one, so you're going to need to reuse those. That's what holds it in place in the bottom of the core support, so keep those. There we go. Keep those pieces. Okay, now a couple things we have to do. We've got to remove that hose cover and clamp. In some instances you may not have this. That's why they put that on there. Now these little covers here have to come out. Pretty easy, just hook them with a screwdriver or grab the center with a pair of pliers, and then these fittings will go into those. So these already have Loctite on them, and they have the little snap pieces, so just thread those in. Make sure they're not cross-threaded, and then tighten those up. Now this should seal without issue. You don't want to put crazy torque on this. I couldn't tell you what the actual torque needs to be, but bottom them out and make sure they're tight. Okay. Do the same thing with these two on the other side. Okay, first thing I want to do is put on these rubber pieces again. Whoops, goes this way. Oh, you know what? It's got some play in it. I'm going to be further ahead setting them in the core support rather than sticking them onto the radiator, because they'll fall off. A bigger holder on the bottom of this. It's not going to matter because it can't go anywhere. So carefully slide this back in and line it up on the grommets. And then put your bolts back in. Then you can reconnect your lines. I'm going to put in the bottom one here. Get that in. Take some pressure. Hopefully you can see this one okay. Let me angle the camera a little. So you have to overcome that spring. So push that in. There it is. Make sure it's going to stay. Slide that little cover back over it. And do the same thing with the other side and the transmission lines. What you may want to do, just because it might be easier, see if I can angle this. Okay, it might be easier, I don't know for sure, but I need to get that lower hose on to the fitting first, and then I can release my clamp. So these things are really handy. You can make sure your clamp's in the right spot, and then squeeze and release this. And now that clamp is back in where it needs to be. Super handy tool. Back to the bottom here, put this transmission line in, put the collar on, put this transmission line in. There we go. Put the collar on. So those are set. At this point I can also probably put this lower line on while I have easy access to it. And that should just push on because the clamp will give on this one. Now, fun part, getting this lowered shroud back in. And as I said before, sometimes it's good to put a piece of cardboard in front of your radiator. Surprisingly enough, look at that, I have a piece of cardboard. It's a little long. Just customize it. Perfect. Yeah. Yeah. Look at that. Brilliant. Hook your tabs on the sides. Now, this one, there is a clip here on the bottom that holds these transmission lines, and it's supposed to plug into this housing, but I can't, it won't plug in because it's going to have to change direction for me to make that happen. I'm not going to force anything. Let me see if I can get it. Maybe. Yeah, it's in a weird spot. Okay, I got it. I got it. All right. I just don't like to put anything in an awkward position. And then we'll put the top piece back in. Again, be careful where your corners are and that sort of thing. Airbox is wanting to fight with me. Let's see if I can trick it. Ha! Got it. All right. Lines up. That lines up. Yep. There it is. All right. sweat. These will go in. And then we have the push pins, as I mentioned earlier, also will go in. Make sure everything's lined up before you put those pins in. There we go. Perfect. Good. Now the other thing is we have this line up on top. It goes back onto the hose on this side. Squeeze the clamp. There we go. That'll work. Now to put this hose back on, I'm going to have to squeeze that clamp as well. There we go. All right, now everything is back in place, everything is connected. At this point, we're gonna put away all the tools, right? Make sure all the tools are out of the engine bay. And then I'm gonna put this cover back on. Oh, make sure this is in that hole. That's the other thing. There's another one right here. Goes under the bottom of the air duct. And that's it. This little rubber hose just had a couple of little clip-on pieces. So make sure you push this pin up into this retainer, and then this hose has two kind of C-clips. So there's one there and one there. Oh yeah, I gotta tighten up these 10mm. I knew somebody was watching. I said, hey, he didn't. I just launched my socket. I launched my socket, and I don't know where I put my 10mm. Story of my life, right? Where's the 10mm? Found it. All right. There's that. Handy dandy. Put your handy dandy cover back on. I do happen to be missing one of these, so I'll find another one of those later. Okay, at this point, you're going to want to double check. You're going to top off your antifreeze, make sure that's right, and also check your transmission fluid and your oil. Make sure you got those right as well. But otherwise, that's going to be it for changing out this radiator. Okay, I've never done that before where I've squeezed the trigger on my cordless and launched something, mainly because I never had that universal on there before. So I'll have to find my socket here in a minute. But that'll be it for this video. So once again, thanks for watching. Thanks to my patrons who continue to support me as I do these adventures. I look forward to sharing another video with you soon. The next one will probably be on the Mach 1 Cobra Jet that I'm redoing. So stay tuned, and until next time, take care of yourselves. See ya.